Your leftover habit. Your leftover habits might be silently hurting your body after 60, especially if you're still reheating eggs or potatoes. Comment hot if you've ever reheated your food twice in one day. Number 1. Cooked mushrooms. That bloated, uneasy feeling you get after reheating last night's veggie stir-fry or pizza? It might not just be your age, it might be the mushrooms. Comment mushroom if you've ever reheated them at home without thinking twice. Now think about it. Mushrooms are often seen as one of the healthiest options on your plate. Low-calorie, plant-based, and packed with flavor, most people assume they're safe, no matter how you prepare them. But if you're over 60, that assumption might be quietly working against you. When mushrooms are cooked, their protein structures begin to degrade rapidly, and if they aren't cooled and stored within 2 hours, bacteria can take hold. This makes reheating them especially risky. You're not just warming up leftovers, you might be reactivating a health hazard. According to the European Food Information Council, if left sitting too long, these proteins can attract harmful bacteria. One type, Listeria, might form if the mushrooms are stored improperly. This bacterium can trigger foodborne illness, causing nausea, cramps, or even infection. For someone over 60 with a weaker immune system, that's not just uncomfortable, it's risky. And here's the part many don't realize. Even if the mushrooms look and smell fine, the structure of their proteins might already be altered. Reheating breaks them down even more, making them harder to digest, especially for seniors with slower digestion, acid reflux, or inflammatory gut conditions. You might chalk it up to just getting older, but the real issue could be sitting on your dinner plate. Another thing to remember, some cooked mushrooms are stored in plastic containers. If reheated in those same containers, it could expose you to small amounts of harmful chemicals like BPA, which might further aggravate inflammation or hormone conditions in aging adults. If you felt sluggish, bloated, or unsettled after a simple leftover meal, this might be why. You're not imagining it. Based on senior health tips published by aging and digestion experts, the best approach is to eat mushrooms immediately after cooking, or enjoy them cold within 24 hours, stored properly in glass or food-safe containers. This video is for education only. It's not a substitute for your doctor's advice. Always consult a healthcare provider before making changes to your diet, especially if you're managing a chronic condition. I'm Dr. Dan, and number 2 will surprise you. It's a breakfast favorite most people trust, but it might trigger inflammation, and you need to hear this. Number 2. Eggs. Do you ever feel unusually heavy or bloated after reheating scrambled eggs from yesterday's breakfast? If you're over 60, it might not be just your gut. It could be what's happening inside the egg itself. Most people trust eggs. They're simple, packed with protein, and often seen as one of the best foods for older adults. But the truth is, reheating cooked eggs can become a digestive issue, especially if you already deal with sluggish digestion, acid reflux, or heart conditions. Here's the science behind it. Eggs contain natural fats and cholesterol, but once you reheat them, especially using high heat or a microwave, those fats can oxidize. That means their chemical structure changes, and instead of being a clean energy source, they might become harder for your body to process. This can lead to symptoms like mild nausea, stomach tightness, or even fatigue after eating. According to nutrition specialists in aging at the Mayo Clinic, oxidized cholesterol from reheated eggs might contribute to low-grade inflammation in the body. If you have pre-existing heart conditions, high blood pressure, or a history of high cholesterol, these little changes could add up. There's also a food safety risk. If eggs weren't cooled properly after cooking, certain bacteria might grow, especially in egg salads or soft-boiled dishes. And reheating may not be enough to kill them, putting your gut at risk again. If you're in your 60s or older and you've noticed that reheated eggs just don't sit right anymore, you're not imagining things. As part of recent senior health tips from geriatric dietitians, the safest choice is to eat eggs right after cooking. If you must store them, eat them cold, and within 24 hours. But what we're sharing here is for education, not medical diagnosis. Always check with your doctor if you're managing a chronic condition. Been there? Just write yes or never, honestly. Number 3. White potatoes. Do you ever feel foggy, sluggish, or even shaky a few hours after reheating and eating mashed potatoes from the night before? If you're over 60, it might not be a coincidence. White potatoes are filling, they're easy to chew, simple to reheat, and show up in so many meals, especially for older adults who just want something quick and comforting. But what feels like a good choice can set off a chain reaction in your body. Here's how that chain starts. When you cook white potatoes, cool them down, and then reheat them, the starch structure changes. From there, your body scrambles to bring that sugar back down. For older adults, this can mean a sudden crash. You might feel exhausted, irritable, or even dizzy. If you're already managing blood sugar issues, these swings might stress your heart and digestion over time. But it doesn't stop there. Many people reheat potatoes in plastic containers. That's where another risk enters the picture. According to the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, exposure to heat, realistically BEPA from plastic containers, might interfere with heart rhythm and blood pressure regulation in older adults. So you're not just dealing with a sugar surge, you're adding hormonal disruption to the mix. And if you have diabetes, heart disease, or high cholesterol, these shifts might activate symptoms that linger all day. One leftover meal could become a domino that leads to inflammation, pressure swings, or even trouble sleeping that night. Recent senior health tips from dietitians specializing in metabolic health recommend skipping reheated starchy sides like white potatoes, especially if they've been sitting in plastic or left at room temperature for more than 2 hours. The information shared here is for education only. Please talk to your healthcare provider for personal medical advice. Number 4. Spinach or beets. You chose reheated spinach for lunch because it seemed like the cleanest option on your plate, but a few hours later, your chest feels tight, your head feels light, and sleep just won't come easy. Spinach? Beetroot? Those are supposed to be good for you, right? Well, they are, but only if you use them right. These leafy greens are packed with nutrients. Spinach brings iron and magnesium. Beets support circulation and brain health. That's why they show up in nearly every superfood list. But when you cook them, store them, and then reheat them again, their hidden chemistry starts to shift. Spinach and beets are naturally rich in something called nitrate. On its own, nitrate can support blood flow. But under high heat, especially after being stored, those nitrates might convert to nitrite, and in certain cases into nitrosamines. These compounds might interfere with how oxygen is utilized in your bloodstream, especially in older adults with weaker immunity. According to the European Food Information Council, nitrate in leafy greens, when heated, might break down into compounds that affect oxygen transport. In seniors, this could lead to prolonged fatigue, dizziness, or even fluttering heartbeats after meals. If you've ever felt faint or strangely breathless after a healthy reheated vegetable plate, it might not be your age, it might be the greens. And if you live with chronic heart or lung conditions, even a minor reduction in blood oxygen levels could lead to discomfort, anxiety, or restlessness at night. That's why these symptoms often show up hours later, and why they're so easy to miss. Recent senior health tips from public health researchers advise against reheating nitrate-rich leafy greens, especially for those with existing cardiovascular or pulmonary issues. This is educational information only. Please check with your doctor if you experience dizziness or fatigue after meals. Type 4. If reheated leafy greens have ever upset your stomach, even slightly. So before we move on to the good stuff, the foods you should reheat, let's take a breath and look back. We've talked about mushrooms that can upset your stomach when rewarmed, eggs that seem harmless but might trigger inflammation, white potatoes that mess with your blood sugar and heart rhythm, and spinach or beets that lose their healthy badge when they're heated twice. They're all foods we think are safe, but if you're over 60, how you store and reheat them matters more than ever. Stick around for what's next, because it might just help you feel better after every meal. And hey, if this kind of practical, real-world health advice speaks to you, hit that subscribe button. You're watching Healthcase, and we're just getting started. But it's not all bad news. Some foods actually get better when you reheat them, more soothing for your gut, easier to digest, and even more nourishing for your body after 60. Let's talk about those next. Number 5. Oatmeal. Do you ever notice how a warm bowl of oatmeal feels even more comforting the second time around? Especially on slow mornings, when your stomach needs something gentle and steady. For older adults, this simple dish might just be one of the best foods to reheat. When oatmeal cools down and is reheated, something subtle but powerful happens. Its starches change form and create something called resistant starch. That might sound technical, but what it means is this. Instead of breaking down quickly into sugar, it moves slowly through your digestive system, feeding healthy bacteria and keeping your blood sugar stable. According to the National Institutes of Health, resistant starch from reheated whole grains might support gut health and reduce blood sugar spikes in older adults. That's not just theory. If you've got diabetes, high cholesterol, or just want to avoid feeling sluggish after breakfast, reheated oatmeal gives you long-lasting energy without the crash. It's soft, easy to chew, and supports your gut instead of stressing it. Oatmeal is often listed in senior health tips as one of the best reheated breakfasts for digestion, energy, and blood sugar balance. And the best part? You can prep it once, portion it out, and reheat a bowl whenever you need. Comfort that works. This is general information. If you have dietary restrictions or health conditions, ask your doctor before making changes. Number 6. Vegetables. You ever notice how a bowl of vegetable soup tastes better the next day? It's warmer, deeper, gentler, especially if you're over 60 and your appetite isn't quite what it used to be. Vegetable soup is one of those rare foods that gets better with time. After it sits, the flavors from the carrots, onions, herbs, and broth come together like old friends. Then, when you reheat it, it becomes something more than just a meal. It becomes comfort in a bowl. And that's not just taste, it's science. When soups are stored and reheated, the nutrients from the vegetables, things like potassium, magnesium, and antioxidants, are readily available in the broth, supporting your joints, your heart, even your immune system, all in a form that's soft, warm, and easy to absorb. According to the National Resource Center on Nutrition and Aging, vegetable-based soups that are reheated might help seniors with low appetite or trouble swallowing by providing nutrients in a gentle, easy-to-digest form. If you've been eating less or feel heavy and tired after solid meals, soup might be exactly what your body needs. It doesn't just fill your stomach, it hydrates, soothes, and helps you sleep better too. Vegetable soup is often featured in senior health tips as an ideal reheated meal that hydrates, nourishes, and comforts, especially in the evening. As always, check with your care provider if you have sodium restrictions or other dietary needs. Think soup gets better the second time? Show it with a 6. I'm Dr. Dan, and number 7 is humble but powerful. It might just help your heart and digestion more than you'd expect. Number 7. Brown rice. You ever notice how you don't feel that mid-afternoon crash after a lunch with reheated brown rice? It keeps you steady, no spikes, no slumps, just slow, gentle energy. White rice might be faster and softer, but it's also quick to raise your blood sugar. Brown rice takes its time. And when you let it rest and reheat it later, it becomes even more helpful to your body. When brown rice is cooled and reheated, it forms more resistant starch, a type of carbohydrate that doesn't break down into sugar right away. Instead, it feeds the good bacteria in your gut, supports digestion, and slows how fast sugar enters your bloodstream. According to the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, resistant brown rice might increase resistant starch levels, which could benefit glucose control and gut microbiome health in older adults. So if you often feel heavy or tired after meals, or if your blood sugar swings up and down too fast, switching to reheated brown rice might help. It's not flashy, but it's consistent, and consistency matters more than ever after 60. Senior health tips often recommend reheated brown rice as a safe, balanced carb source for sustained energy and better digestion. Always speak to your dietitian if you're managing blood sugar, kidney issues, or special dietary needs. Number 8. Turkey or vegetarian chili. You ever reheat a bowl of chili and feel surprisingly satisfied? No bloating, no crash, just steady energy that carries you through the afternoon? That's no accident. Chili is one of those meals that rewards patience. Whether it's turkey-based or vegetarian, the longer it sits, the more the flavors come together. And when you reheat it the next day, it's not just tastier, it's easier for your body to handle. Slow-cooked dishes like chili soften the fibers in beans and vegetables. When you reheat it, those fibers become even more gentle on your digestion. The proteins stay intact, and the starches may become more resistant, slowing down sugar absorption and giving your gut a chance to work at its own pace. According to the Mayo Clinic, legume-based meals that reheated might improve digestive tolerance and support blood sugar control in older adults. So if you've been feeling low on protein, struggling with constipation, or just too tired to cook fresh every day, chili might become your best ally. It warms you up, fills you up, and helps keep things moving. Turkey or veggie chili shows up often in senior health tips as a meal that reheats beautifully while keeping fiber, protein, and heart-friendly benefits intact. Always check for added sodium or spice level if you're managing kidney or digestive issues. Number 9. Chicken and veggie soup. You know those days when you feel worn out, have no appetite, or just lack the energy to cook? Imagine remembering there's a bowl of chicken and veggie soup in the freezer. You reheat it, and within minutes, your body feels warmer, calmer, a little more steady. For seniors, this kind of meal is more than just convenient, it's smart nourishment. There's nothing heavy or harsh here, just tender chicken, softened carrots, and broth infused with gentle herbs. When reheated, this soup becomes even more soothing. The warmth relaxes your stomach muscles, the liquid hydrates you, and the nutrients, especially from slow-cooked veggies, become easier to absorb. According to the Clenval Clinic, renewing transition soup might help support hydration, electrolyte balance, and immune function in seniors, especially during illness or low-energy days. If you've been sick, recovering, or simply having a hard time eating solid foods, this is one of the few meals that asks nothing from you but gives a lot back. It's easy on your gut, supports your immune system, and helps you feel nourished without effort. Chicken and veggie soup is consistently recommended in senior health tips as a top reheated meal for recovery, hydration, and gentle nutrition. Just be sure to watch the sodium levels in store-bought soups if you're on a heart or kidney diet. Cold days, low energy, if soup has saved you more than once, tap in with a 9. So maybe that bowl of soup was just what your body needed today, something warm, simple, easy to take in. But it's not the only one. You've got oatmeal that gets even gentler the second time around, veggie soup that only grows more nourishing overnight, brown rice that steadies your blood sugar instead of spiking it, and chili that keeps feeding you with slow, steady energy. These aren't just leftovers. They're quiet, dependable ways to take care of yourself, especially after 60, when every bite should work with your body, not against it. You've seen how reheating the right foods can support your health, but here's the thing. Even the best leftovers can turn risky if you're not sure how long they've been sitting there. Let's talk about this honestly. After 60, your immune system isn't as quick to bounce back. That means food safety needs to be more than a guideline, it has to be a habit. If you don't remember when you stored that container, it's not worth the risk. Bacteria multiply fast, especially between room temperature and 40 degrees Fahrenheit. One forgotten dish on the back shelf could lead to stomach pain, nausea, or worse, an infection that lingers for days. Don't rely on smell alone. Even food that looks or smells okay might not be safe if it's been in the fridge too long. Here's the rule: if it's more than 3 days old and you're not sure, it's time to let it go. Your health is more valuable than a reheated meal. Let's keep going. There's another simple trick that can help protect your digestion before you even hit the reheat button. We just talked about when to say goodbye to leftovers. Now, let's look at something you can do before the food even hits the fridge. The key is portioning. When you cook, try dividing your meals into smaller containers right away. It's not just about saving space, it's about protecting your gut. Smaller portions cool down faster, which means less time spent in the temperature danger zone where bacteria thrive. This also means when it's time to eat, you only reheat what you need, no repeated warming, no reheating the same dish twice. Less exposure, more control. It might feel like a small change, but for seniors it can make all the difference in avoiding an upset stomach or a restless night. Next up is something that might change the way you use your microwave completely. Microwaves are quick, but sometimes quick. Especially as you get older, your digestion becomes more sensitive. That's why uneven heating can be a hidden problem. When food heats up in patches, cold spots can remain, places where harmful bacteria might still be active, even though the surface feels hot. Using the stovetop or a small saucepan gives you more control. The heat spreads evenly, allowing the entire portion to warm thoroughly. You'll also notice the texture holds up better, especially in soups, stews, or rice-based dishes. If you do stick with the microwave, stir halfway through and make sure it's steaming all the way, not just on top. Being a little more patient here helps your body handle food more safely and with less strain. Coming up is a habit that takes just 2 seconds, but might save you from days of discomfort. These tips might seem small, checking dates, portioning meals, reheating more carefully, but together they create a routine that protects your health quietly, every single day. If you start making these changes now, your digestion will thank you. Your energy might feel steadier, your immune system won't have to fight as hard over something that could have been avoided. We've seen today that not all foods are safe to reheat, but some, like oatmeal or soup, actually become more nourishing with time. The key is knowing the difference and trusting your body to guide you. If you're over 60, this isn't just about food. It's about respecting how your body changes and giving it the right kind of support. Keep up with your health checkups, drink water throughout the day, and if this video helped you feel more informed, follow us here on Healthcase, hit subscribe, share it with someone you care about, and let's keep aging strong, one meal at a time. The information I'm sharing here is for educational and reference purposes only. It's not intended to replace medical advice or a professional diagnosis. To stay safe and protect your health, always consult a healthcare professional before making any changes.